Councillor Parrish.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I know you're all going to want to boo, so if you just be patient and wait till I finish speaking and then boo, maybe we'll get through this a little more quickly. First of all, I'd like to tell you, and I'd like to get on the record, that there's a procedural problem here in that the judicial review was passed 4 weeks ago. So what Councillor Mullen has done is asked us to defer the terms of reference. She hasn't asked us to reverse that decision yet. So the procedure to do that is quite different, and we'll have to discuss it. Secondly, I would like to ask the lawyer, city's lawyer, if in fact we can get to $100 million in your wildest dreams, and secondly, can a judge order us to pay the costs of the witnesses that come before the judicial review?
Through to the city solicitor.
In my report, I've set out the reasons for why I've estimated the costs the way that I have. I don't think the costs are going to be anywhere near the range of $10 million. They could definitely go higher than what I've estimated because, as I've said in the report, there are a number of variables depending on what the investigation turns up and how the Commissioner decides to handle those matters. In terms of the third parties or corporations or outside parties, the Commissioner does not have jurisdiction to provide funding, and I set that out on page 11 of my report. In terms of who has party status and who can participate fully in the inquiry, if the inquiry is held, that is a matter that will be determined by the Commissioner. The Commissioner establishes the rules for a judicial inquiry. Council does not. So they will determine the rules, they will determine the parties, they may make recommendations on funding if they think it's appropriate, but they do not have any jurisdiction to make that decision.
Thank you. And another comment I would like to make is, with the exception of Mr. Shipp, who took a direct shot at me, and I will discuss it with you later because I want you to know what you said about me is not true. I agree with everything that was said today about Hazel McCallion. This inquiry is not about Hazel McCallion. This inquiry, no.
Let her finish, please. You've had your opportunity. Order. 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 Please proceed.
This inquiry is about things that have been going on, murky things that have been going on around our city for quite some time. And if you want to talk about money and you want to talk about OMERS, the first thing that was discovered after I was elected through a very laborious process that cost us over $1 million was the intersource agreement that was signed in 2000 was altered 2 days before it was signed on direction from the lawyers of OMERS and accepted by then city manager. It was altered to give veto power, 100% veto power, to our 10% partner. Now you need to understand that's OMERS. They came in, they gave us 10% of intersource, and they took 100% control. They have excuses for doing it, but the main excuse was that we had a put agreement, which is too complex to get into. If it was a good excuse, why didn't they bring it to the councillors of the day in 2000 and say, this is why we need this little veto in here. This is why we have to be able to veto 100% of your decisions. You're 90%, we're 10%. We have a good reason, but you know what? We're not going to tell you what it is. We're going to send a letter from OMERS to the city manager of the day and to our lawyer of the day and say, just slip that in. So that, when we were looking into selling hydro, which we subsequently decided not to, cost us $150,000, $200,000 to find that little mistake. And the clock has been ticking ever since. So OMERS, who sent us a threatening letter last night saying, we've just spent 9 months trying to renegotiate that deal because we know we shafted you. We're going to draw that renegotiation out of the ballpark. We're taking it back. We don't like what you're doing with the judicial review. We don't like being named in it. And by the way, we want you to pay for our lawyers. For the last 9 months, while we were trying to figure out how to fix the mistake that was done without the knowledge of your councillors or your mayor, the city manager of the day slipped the papers to her, said go ahead and sign them. They're the same as the ones that council looked at. So number one, I want to look at OMERS. I'm sorry. We've had a few deals with those guys. Secondly, we tried to buy a piece of land to build Sheridan College here in City Centre. What was discovered was affidavits were sent through the courts where certain persons involved in world-class development said, you have to pay us off. We've put in $2.3 million that we're not going to get back. So we're going to take you to court, hold this whole thing up, and Sheridan won't get built because they have to get built by 2011, just like the other infrastructure money. So we have to go to court and fight with these guys, world-class development. Sheridan won't get built. So what do? World-class development does all these affidavits, tells us about off-site meetings, tells us this, tells us that, and they say, but you know what? For a cash settlement from OMERS, we'll withdraw our objection. In my world, that's blackmail. So I want those guys looked at because they affect our city and they affect the prices we pay. If OMERS paid them $3 million to go away, I'm sure we paid $3 million more than we should have for that land. So that's what I want to look at, and that was what we all wanted to look at. Mayor McCallion's conflict of interest is a small technicality. That is absolutely irrelevant to me. What is relevant is the fact that 6 days after the minute of the meeting was taken care of, somebody in this building changed those minutes. And we've never had an explanation. The other thing you need to know, because we've asked the city manager in camera, you know when you BlackBerry each other in business, you guys are all in business, you all have those little BlackBerries? This city monitors our pin-to-pin conversations. That was admitted by the city manager that the city has the technology to do that. So somebody can find out who instructed the minutes to be changed or go into the computer and change them. To me, that's an issue. I'm sure you would like to know that your minutes, when you read them from a meeting, are honest. Nobody has the ability to change them. And we've never had an explanation as to why they were changed. So when you look at the terms of reference of this, it was a lengthy conversation by all the members of council, and I didn't give them something in their drinking water, and I didn't promise them jobs or heaven or anything else. I merely looked into this because I'm a bit of a ferret, and I follow Hazel's instructions, which are do your homework. And when you keep doing your homework and you keep finding problems that you can't answer or solve, the rest of your colleagues say, hey, we got to look at this. Now, if there's a way of doing the terms of reference that Hazel McCallion's conflict of interest is taken out of it, I have no problem with that. Because she's admitted she had a conflict of interest. I want to find out how the minutes got changed. I want to find out why OMERS took what they paid world-class development to go away. I want to know what other deals have been going on in City Centre like that. I want to know why we've spent a year and a half trying to fix a deal that was signed by the mayor without her knowledge or council's knowledge, slipping a huge veto power in there for a little 10% partner. My colleague Nando has often said, if that is acceptable in business, he's going to buy 10% of every one of your houses and then tell you what to do with them. When you can live in them, who can live in them with you, he's in charge. So please get it out of your heads that and by the way, I was told by Hazel McCallion when she announced 6 weeks ago or whenever that she was running again, I was the only one that sent her a note congratulating her. I want her to run again. No, I'm sorry.
Order.
But I also want this judicial review to clear the air. And I'm surprised at how little faith you people have in the mayor when you all keep talking about this thing growing like a giant mushroom cloud. If it's a little conflict of interest, it'll be over in 10 minutes. If it's OMERS, it might take longer. If it's people in this building snooping on all our pins and changing minutes, it might take a little longer. But these are the things that we want to look at. And if there's a way in the terms of reference, I'm going to ask our lawyer, if we can take Hazel McCallion's conflict of interest out of it, At that meeting on May 21st, I'd be happy to do so. Could I, through you, ask our lawyer?
Through the solicitor.